Do I leave it up to you then to do the owl and the projector?
Yeah. So I think I can control this computer's, but like your
Mhm.
computer, your mic and speaker, you'll have to make sure is um muted before we actually start.
O'clock, so we will begin the meeting of the Monroe County Capital Improvement Board of November 13th, 2024. First item on the agenda, call to order, and I'll ask Mr. Whitlatch to take our attendance.
John Whitehart,
Present?
Doug Bruce.
Here.
Eric Spoonmore.
Here.
Adam Teese.
Here.
Jay Bear.
Here.
Jim Silverstein.
Here.
Joyce Poling. She's supposed to be joining us remotely. It doesn't look like she's here yet, but we'll announce when she comes in. We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Second item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of two meetings, the October 9th, 2024 board meeting and the October 23rd special meeting, as well as claims, as well as the financial report. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second, so moved by Mr. Bear, seconded by Mr. Silverstein. Is there any discussion or questions? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, and I'll ask Mr. Whitlatch to take that role.
Sure. John Whitehart.
Yes?
Doug Bruce.
Yes.
Eric Spoonmore.
Yes.
Adam Teese.
Yes.
Jay Bear.
Yes.
Jim Silverstein.
Yes.
And Joyce Poling, have you joined us?
Yes.
Joyce is now present. She's here and she's voted affirmative to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Before we move on to the treasurer's report, I always like to look around for elected officials, and I see President of City Council, Isabel Piedmont Smith is with us. Thank you for being here and welcome. Did I miss any elected officials? Anybody who wants to be an elected official? All right. Item number 3 on the agenda, the treasurer's report, Mr. Spoonmore.
No report today, Mr. President.
All right, any questions for Mr. Spoonmore? Item number 4, project update. And I believe that Schmidt is leading. Is that correct, Sarah? And Sarah Hempstead and Eddie Layton from Schmidt? Eddie, and I'll ask you to project as loudly as you can so that everybody in the back of the room can hear you.
Sure thing. So thank you for your time today. We're going to provide an update of where we are in the design. As you might recall, our last meeting in October, you guys approved our project definition phase to move into final design. So we have started that. Out of the way. So today we are going to talk about a few things. We always like to start with our project goals and the public input we received, and we'll continue to start with that, just to get everybody on the same page, remind everybody why we are here to start with. Talk about the schedule. One of today's focuses is going to be on the site plan development. We have some important milestones coming up here in December. Well, starting in November, but definitely in December as far as site plan approval. And so we want to get that in front of you guys, just to see, so you guys see where we are and to provide any feedback on that. We'll share where we are in the building itself in terms of developing the design, and then we'll talk about next steps. So these have not changed. Their same project goals are consistent. We always like to come back to them and make sure we're still hitting them. Of course, expanding the space is one of the primary goals. Creating inspiring architecture for the community, showcasing the uniqueness and amenities that Bloomington has to offer, enhancing the connectivity in the city, and achieving sustainability throughout the project. As we've met with public various times, we've had several through lines that are very consistent and stay consistent, and are things that we are keeping involved with, incorporating limestone design in thoughtful ways, elevating the public art. We just had a meeting with the BEAD advisory group to talk about opportunities for public art in the development, both in the building and the site and surroundings. Addressing the pedestrian scale, still a larger building on the site. We want to make sure that people don't feel uncomfortable walking down the street next to it. Incorporate that. Make sure we're connecting with nature to the use of roof gardens and the outdoors. Go back to the goals of having engaging architecture. People should want to experience the building and enjoy the experience of the building. Be contextual with the Bloomington downtown. And we always like to end with, the idea that this place is authentic and it's someone wants to come and take their picture and remember their trip to Bloomington. So in a big picture, where we are in the project schedule, we're in final design. We'll be in final design through February of next year. we will come back to this group again and present where we are in final design and ask for your approval to move into construction documents. That will run through July of 25. As a reminder, there's several packages that will go out in that period of time as we look at long lead items and getting things started on site. So that bidding period will overlap with the construction documents period, and construction will also the earlier packages will start June 25 first time. And then the expansion itself will be substantially complete hopefully by December of 26, with final moving details in early 27, and then move into the renovation scope that happens in this building, hopefully be complete by summer of 27. When it comes to the schedule of the final design phase itself, which again is running from end of October until kind of middle of February, the big focus there really is getting the plan commission approval in the first meeting of the year for plan commission, which is in January. So we actually have our first deadline on that on Friday. We have a pre-submittal meeting with Jackie to talk through site planning, make sure there's no red flags they're seeing before we go to the DRC committee in late November and early December, and then working towards the actual plan commission hearing in the second week of January. We have a few meetings, obviously, in that group in that period, and we will have a detailed operations review with Toshel and her group coming up, and really working through some of the more detailed decisions as we take the design from a very big schematic picture down to the final details as we're looking at their construction. So I'm going to ask Bill Ritter with BRCJ to come up and kind of share where they are on site development as we get ready for our submissions.
I'm sure it's going. Definitely all groups. Good afternoon, everyone. Plus Ritter, Cooper James, working on the site plan, developing it up to the point we are now. I guess the main features are on the south end, we've got the loading dock here, and we'll have an area for truck turning to access the loading docks. And then we have to have a wall to conceal some of that. So we've extended a wall down toward the south along College Avenue. On the around the perimeter, College, 3rd Street, and along Walnut are wider sidewalks with some interesting paving pattern that will probably take off from the column lines, as we proposed here. And then to point out on 3rd Street, there will be a place for coaches to pull off and drop off people coming to the convention center. 2 main entrances on the north, west, and northeast. And then trying to think of any other highlights. This does show the connector in the existing convention center. And then see what the new things do we have. That's primarily what the site is composed of. Then in underground are the main things that we have to deal with stormwater. So we'll have underground detention all within the loading dock area. As we're proposing it. And then for stormwater quality treatment, we'll have a green roof component that really will be up in this area. I believe this area, right in this corner. And then we'll have another feature that'll be underground. This is what we're proposing, the tree, where the tree wells to try to satisfy the entire CBU stormwater quality. And then we're trying to work out now relocation of the utilities that used to run up and down this alley. And trying to coordinate communications will probably go through this corridor, back up to reconnect. And then we'll have work with Duke Energy and CenterPoint Energy to relocate electric and natural gas around to the west and then back to their points of reconnection. I think those are the main items we have. We're pointing out the grease interceptor. Of course, we have to treat grease-laden waste from the kitchen area. It's here. And currently we're proposing, and I think this would work, taking water to serve the building off of the College Street water main And items. And then for landscaping, the main requirements we are providing street trees. So around the perimeter of the site, we'll have street trees located. And then they'll play off probably like the column lines of the building, so there's some symmetry or balance with the design of the building. And I think we've got pretty much everything nailed down, so when we present the city planning on the pre-filing deadline on Friday, we'll get everything addressed and not have any problems. I can answer any questions you might have.
The wider sidewalks, does that encroach on street width at all? That's obviously a busy street level this.
So along College and along Walnut, there's no change. We'll continue to follow the curb line that's currently there.
Got it.
So there's no change there. But
It's just wider towards the building, not wider away from the.
correct, yes, yeah, and our property line, this actually shows, our property line pretty much follows the outline of the building. On the east and west sides for sure, and then our property goes all the way down to the north alley of this piece of property. Then along with Third Street, there will be a little bit of reconfigurations to allow us to pick up an 8-foot strip. But we'll still continue to keep all the lanes that are currently there. So we shouldn't impact any traffic conditions.
Because you can see on the west side of the intersection, there's a median.
Yeah.
So that'll be able to use that to get the main building.
Bill, are we reconfiguring or will there be some relocation and work done with, let's say, traffic signals? As far as the infrastructure, I know the corner of, well, probably both entrances to the building, but the corner of Third and College has got what seems like box after box and poles and a lot of stuff, and that's really literally right at our front door. There's a lot of that. Has anybody looked into what can be relocated or how that, what that might look like in a newer version when this is put together?
I'm not.
That's good.
There we go. Okay, so I don't believe there are any control cabinets on these corners.
I don't know. I can't say that I recall looking at Walnut, but College, it looked like there were a couple of boxes or something sitting there.
Yeah, well, I thought the main controls were over on this corner, but I will reconfirm that. And then if we have any problems, we may have to dive into that a little deeper.
Has CBU had a look at this in terms of approving or not approving the water quality for the runoff?
Well, we had an early discussion with them and they unveiled the new Title 13 and their new stormwater quality requirements for catching stormwater. So essentially, we need to come up with a concept, submit to them and get their feedback. We engaged in some dialogue, but they're not difficult to have them tell us what they'll find acceptable. We need to provide them something to look at and think about it. And so number wise, volume wise, flow rate wise, we're working to satisfy those standards that they've established.
That's why the review we have coming up.
That would be the DRC step, initiated with the DRC review.
How come the trees are big on the other side? That's the next slide.
On the west side, you mean?
Yeah.
Is the positive larger?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Ask a stupid question, you get a stupid answer. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate that.
Well, it could be that
We're trying to hide the other convention center from the convention center, is that what we're doing?
I think, well, something.
Obfuscation plan?
Separation from utilities. So we have a water main that runs along here, and CBU has a requirement to keep 10 feet of separation between trees and water lines. And then there's also a 5-foot separation between other utilities. So we're trying to create a corridor in here where we can pass the communication lines through AT&T, Smithville, and maybe I should. AT&T, Smithville, and Comcast. So we're trying to fit them on the east side. So if we can work with size of tree, yeah, that will give us some flexibility. But we'll have to get planning approval for that.
Other thing that Bill mentioned in this ground, on the west side, there's 3 trees are, they're using the tree well, root wells
For their attention. Yeah, well, for quality, the quality.
On the topic of landscaping, I'm curious, we've heard from the city in the past that one of the obstacles to keeping our planters and landscape beds looking nice and vibrant is the lack of irrigation that goes to those. Is there an irrigation plan for the landscaping for the convention center?
Oh, we've talked about it, but we haven't gone that far yet as to designing it.
Okay.
I think our landscape architect would say, yes, we need water for the plants, but then we're also trying to balance this with getting the weed certification. So we'll walk this fine line and figure out what the best thing to do.
Just to keep everything looking nice and lush.
Fortunately, I mean, we're only obligated to provide the street trees, so we don't have to have shrubs and bushes and so forth. To address the zoning.
Okay.
Okay, good. You're welcome.
And I'm gonna play my best David today because he is on an airplane, I believe. So the other thing we've been working on is developing the plan at a greater level of detail. So that means going into things like the kitchen, going into our column layouts and figuring out exactly how many restrooms there needs to be and where they go. And so some key plan changes that we've been working through really closely is making sure that we can get a nice clean line. Eddie, can you see that? Oh, wait, where's, I'm gonna mess it up here. Bottom one. There we go. Making sure we get nice clean walls that you can see in from the street, making sure that our entry sequence feels good, that we've got room for our grand stair. And working really closely on the back of house, how much space we really need for kitchen, how much space we really need for storage, how can we make this as easy a place as possible for Talisha and her staff to operate. If we were to jump to the second floor. I do. There you go. We've been working through really closely what this meeting space looks like, how it attaches to our outdoor green roof space, how much of it must be green as in planted. That planted space won't be irrigated space. That'll be green roof, which we will hope is hardy enough that it comes back in the spring. It'll die in the winter, just like your garden does at home. Getting our mechanical corridor space to work. And making this bridge really a special place. So doing things like aligning it with an opening in the pre-function space so you can have a nice place to look down at what's happening in the exhibit hall. Same thing here on the green roof, putting things like glass there so you can look down at what's happening in the concourse. We're creating that kind of placemaking and connectivity between these spaces. For those of you who are watching carefully, you'll notice that the bridge right now connects at the 1, 2, 3rd bay in. That's the Goldilocks option, we think, that preserves as much as possible this great room space and nice windows all the way around and connects to the pre-function space while not making us mess with the current connector, which will cause all sorts of problems for all sorts of reasons. So that's what we've been working on when it comes to details. The other thing that we've been working on with the details, and this is pretty fun, is where around this building are opportunities for arts integration. And there are really 2 kinds of arts integration that we're thinking about here. One is the kind of art integration that builds into the building. So imagine on our big limestone pier up front, pieces of that were carved pieces of art as an example. That's one kind of art that's built into the building. There's another kind of art, which is art that is attached to the building. So a gallery like in the room next door. And so, working with the B group to figure out what's our highest and best use of our arts funding, where can we have the most impact, different kinds of art, whether that's limestone carving here and here at our connectors, whether it's a big building wrap art piece all around our giant concourse wall, whether it's a light piece that goes in our giant bridge connector. There are some really beautiful and interesting things that can be done. And so working with the B group, we'll come up with a process to do a call out for artists so that we can integrate those pieces as the construction goes on. We're at the very beginnings of that process. We'll come back and talk to you about it more, but that's happening now. And so going through the elevations and getting that level of detail, you can see we're getting a little closer to construction type drawings, our butterfly roof, the beautiful limestone wall, working through the window patterning so that it can go and run over our bridge connector. And Joey, are you with us online?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Could you take us for a walk through the building for a minute?
Of course.
Thank you. So one of the things that we've been doing as we continue to develop this building is building out the model in full 3D so we can coordinate with all our utilities, coordinate with our structure, and really get a sense of the space. So we're coming in here through the northwest corner of the building. Don't get too distracted by materials. Write this. We've got our little concession stand ticketing window here. And Joey, if you could have us take a walk to the east. And Eddie, you narrate for a minute.
So this is that north wall, walk underneath the green roof into the open space. That's a double height space that is looking onto Third Street. If the grand hall was open for one large event, that we envision the main entry would be to the right, and you're entering the exhibit hall there. And then the other entry on Walnut Street is down there, so the distance where Joey is heading. This is one of the opportunities that Sarah's mentioned for kind of large scale art in that upper level, wrapping the exhibit hall. Restrooms and other fun things there, walking by to visiting. We're looking at different ways of treating the entries that on the left there as the northeast entry. Is that a place for a bench or a planter or some other sculpture piece that could be there? It's a good opportunity and having a concierge location there as well, because every entry in there to help with check-in or wayfinding, that sort of thing.
Okay, this is what happens when you visit your college-age kids. So that's kind of the main concourse. If we turn around and go back the other way, we can go up the monumental stair.
So that's there up to the second level where there's smaller meeting rooms are. And the bridge connection comes in, so the bridge will come in from the right from the existing building. Again, that access being very important runs into that will niche overlooks the exhibit hall. So you can imagine some exhibitors may want that closed, so there will be a blind on it that can be closed if there's something wrong with the person running the main hall doesn't want people to be behind it for whatever reason. But that's a good opportunity for art as well. It could be a fun place. And then at the end of this second floor area is the green roof space that overlooks the intersection and back towards the courthouse. So as Sarah mentioned, there's an area of it that will be planted with some kind of planting to be determined, but then there will also be a great kind of patio space for the gatherings and after cocktail hours after a session. And then that does look, and you have the opportunity to look over that free function space. And so you can imagine if there's a nice sculptural piece hanging in that double story space, you can see it both from the street, but also through this little aperture from the.
How big that space is?
occupiable, we're limited to about 750 square feet, but in total, it's about 1,800 square feet. Back to the existing building, look at the fun artworks, the bridge, and that sort of thing, so. So there we are. Any questions before we read the 3D model?
Did this, go into the exhibit hall today? Or does it allow that?
It could, but it would just be a big flood waiting right now. There's not been any detail developed in there just yet.
Is there a view? You look, can you show how you look through the windows down into the exhibit hall? Is there a way-
Yep.
Yeah, just, we didn't do that.
It's not very detailed, but it's not very different than what that exhibit hall will really look like, right? It's gonna be a big empty box that can do a lot of things.
If you want to watch your kid play volleyball, you can stand up there and.
Yeah, it's great.
Good.
That's a high ceiling we're talking about it for sports and things. Do we envision a way to have some kind of a drop, so it's a little bit more intimate for certain events? That's a very high ceiling for.
It's 30 feet tall, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the rooms are separated, so, I'm not gonna, sorry, Joe, I'm gonna take back Sharon for a second. I go back to. Floor plan. Yeah, when those rooms are all separated, that is a much smaller footprint than a very tall ceiling. So that's one of the things we are looking at, with the design team, going, 30-foot clear minimum for volleyball, for example. What does that look like in terms of rigging to get things down low for other things, and also just the feeling of it. Not being super tall, very small differences.
Yeah, as much as we would love to have a ton of people using this facility that need all of that space, the reality is gonna be smaller dinners and events and fundraisers and what have you, and it's challenging, that much vertical space. It just feels really weird, and the acoustics can be sketchy too.
All very true points. So as Bill mentioned, one of the things we're looking at and refining through this process, the green roof area, we do have to have, we're gonna be required to treat stormwater by a green roof. And you might recall from our discussions during the PD approval, in the budget was around 7,000 square foot of green roof area. And then there's an alternate up to additional 3,000, around 10,000 square feet. And so that's what we're seeing here is, and it, as we develop design, that the areas might shift plus or minus, and we might decide structurally it might make sense to do one area of this roof as the base bid. And versus another, but just the question came up, how much of that is 7,000 square foot versus 10,000? So here you kind of see a comparison where the lighter green adds up to 7,000 square feet. This darker green is about 1,600 square feet, and then we have the additional area on the second floor as well. Then again, we're maintaining, still studying photovoltaic solar panels on the high roof and what the applications of that are from a budget standpoint, payback, and then potential for installing the infrastructure for them, but not the panels themselves at this time. So I think in the coming months, we'll have another report on that and the findings. We're about halfway through that study. But there's some interest there, and then this lower roof of the support spaces, we'll house some of the mechanical equipment that's not constructible. Then next up, over the next month or so, obviously the site submittal is a key one. We've got some major deadlines coming up. We are reviewing and confirming operational plans with Alicia and her group. We've had already in one kitchen meeting with the detailed design of the kitchen. There's some homework we have from that, so we'll refine that design. And then next week, we're meeting with her operations staff to talk about back house flow and sizing of rooms, things like that, to make sure that we're still on track. We're gonna be working to start the interior finish process. We're coming to you with ideas and inspiration images and potential products to use as we're looking at that. And then continually refining the alternates in the budget as we work towards the February submission. Any other questions?
So I loved, the progress on the art opportunities with the beat group. Bill mentioned the significant amount of exterior paving and wider sidewalks. Is that not possibly an opportunity to incorporate art as well? If we're gonna have these extra wide sidewalks, you know, the thought was maybe mirror, the pillars, et cetera, but that is a extremely large canvas to do something really cool potentially and very visible and approachable to everybody, not just users of the building, not inside the building, but as you walk by.
Okay, I'm gonna try. See how, usually I just can keep talking forever. Yeah, so meeting with the B group, pavement options were one of the things that we were putting out there as an idea anyway, both for the crosswalks themselves, because I think that connectivity across the street, if you could do something really artful and cool. Much like they've done in Denver in their new arts district or in Miami South Beach, or even light integration within the pavement. And so that's on the list as one of many art opportunities.
Can you go back to the slide that has the tree outline slide? That's the easiest way for me to ask the question. On the two corners, on Third and College, Third and Walnut, the space there, we've chatted about this, whether there's an opportunity to put, limestone in those areas, something in those areas that would act, would not just be an aesthetic, but also act as a safety feature for traffic. So that we don't have a car accident with a car careening into the front of the building. And board member Polling asked me about that, and I want to make sure that I'm bringing that up, that for consideration, that's something, we have the availability and space to make that happen, and it can be something aesthetic. Is that correct?
Yes, and again, we talked about a little bit today with the bead advisory group, is I think there's an opportunity for art integration on those corners. So there's a little bit bigger, the kind of main entry points. We don't want them to get in the way, but whatever that piece is, it needs to be able to stop a car. And so there's different ways to do that. It could be a more delicate piece up on a base that is concrete or limestone, and it could be a limestone piece in and of itself. But that's gonna be really important, because it would not be an insane or even unique event for a car.
So, and I
We're up that curve.
Thank you. Any other questions from board members? Any comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4 on the agenda, the commissioning RFP, from JSL. So, Mary, Benson, you can handle that for us?
Yes, so within the board packet, you were given an RFP for commissioning services or commissioning agent. So this is someone who is independent of the design group, independent of the contractor, of the subcontractor that installs. And they are charged with being able to ensure that the systems are installed appropriately to the design standards. While that primarily happens during construction, their other role is to inform the design team and get into the specifications, certain requirements for those standards, which is why we're asking for this RFP to go out at this point in time. We're looking to issue this upon your approval. And if that were approved today, then we would be looking to receive those around December 5th and bring them back for a recommendation at the next board meeting. This is a very technical review. So that's one reason why we've moved forward as your consultant to prepare us for it.
And Mary, the commissioning agent also, is advising and assisting in terms of LEED certification as well as that.
Absolutely, yeah. So the LEED certification, we get credit for that within that certification point system by having a commissioning agent. And beyond that, it just assures, an independent party that everything's working to its optimal. That includes building, part of the building envelope, mechanical systems, electrical. And
And in the past, we've on occasion formed evaluation groups to create RFPs. This one is a technical RFP, at least in my opinion, and so it would seem reasonable to me that we would simply delegate to our owners rep their ability to create this RFP and to get that out on our behalf. So Can we have a motion to approve this RFP so that JSL may move forward with it?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bruce, seconded by Mr. Bruce.
I have one question.
Yes,
What's the expected magnitude of a contract like this, cost wise?
I think we take like a budget that we are on now. Jeff can probably pull it, but I don't think my computer on the.
It's listed on the budget that we have. And it's at sort of $1 per square, it's the size of the building and it dictates it, but it's called out specifically in our budget. So it's already in there.
That's all right.
Yeah, the 2025 budget.
It's in the 20, yeah, the
I
start.
believe it's $100,000.
Budgeted for next year.
so it's not, it won't be a separate request for additional approval for
No,
additional funding.
they'll get started. They have some things early in the process, as Mary said, right? And then they have a lot at the end of it. So
60,000.
60 for next year and then there's more.
Yes, I think it's right.
Yeah. But it's already assumed, it's already budgeted.
So we do have something to gauge that against, so that will.
It's an industry standard.
Jim, I would add, it's, on a building like this, especially when you're seeking LEED certification, it's really a must have. And we get LEED points for it as well, 1 or 3 points. That are, and LEED points are, I think we were right at about points we needed to, so.
And we are asking for a response for various levels of inspection, of commissioning. So that's already written within the RFP so that we can make a choice.
Okay, other questions or other discussion? So we have a motion and a call, I'm sorry, Mr. Springwell.
Yeah, do we have a sense of how much interest we'll receive on this? There'll be a lot there.
There are many companies who do this.
Okay.
We already have a distribution list ready to issue.
Okay.
But it would also want to be posted on the website, and we'll also ask that that get onto the cities as well as the county's websites for
Very good.
soliciting.
Thank you.
And who will put the RFP out? How will that be?
I will work, as all the other RFPs, I'll work through, Jim's office to get that to.
Mr. Whitmarsh, and then we'll also get it on our website.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? If not, Mr. Whitmarsh, would you take the roll?
Sure. John Wyckoff,
Yes?
Doug Bruce,
Yes.
Eric Spoonmore.
Yes.
Adam Teese,
Yes.
Jay Bear,
Yes.
Jim Silverstein,
Yes.
and Joyce Poling.
Yes.
Thank you. And, thank you, Mary. Item number 6, a branding RFP for future conventions, and Mike McAfee's gonna lead us through that.
Am I good right here?
Sure.
Good afternoon. I'll be brief. My name is Mike McAfee. I'm the executive director of Visit Bloomington. I have the honor of presenting to you a couple of times. Visit Bloomington, with the outside sales and marketing organization that promotes the convention center. Convention Visitors Commission, funded by the innkeeper's tax and the virtual building. I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of things that we're working on just to keep you up to date on our sales efforts. I did want to speak quickly. Lauren Newton, this is our chief operating officer. She's been at Visit Bloomington for over 35 years. Her knowledge of the tourism industry in this state is nobody better. And, Sean Ballard is our convention sales manager, entrenched in the convention and meetings industry in the state of Indiana. And I'm going to give him he's going to talk a couple of things about some specific sales things that we've already started. But very quickly, I just wanted to, again, so excited to see the stuff up there. I wasn't expecting them today, so that's super cool to see it, and we love to see that. We're already sharing progress, slowly mentioning it to planners that we're talking to. We put a couple of small blows about it and some of our promotional stuff. We took on a bar photo, take it to a rendering and things like that. We love the renderings that we're seeing. Great job. We're already able to do that. So we're really looking forward to developing sales materials in the next couple of weeks before we can do that we can use in early 25 and we can share all of that stuff with you as we do that. We did, Visit Bloomington is concerned, and it's separate from our visitbloomington.com consumer website. We are creating a convention center sales and marketing website that we will use for sales and marketing purposes. We have to have a back-end website that we track all of our sales efforts, our CRM, and customer relationship management. It helps us track sales, the blue collar and day and all that stuff. So that's part of that, as well as an organization planner can pop on our website, submit an RFP, that type of stuff. I shared the RFP with John, sent that out. We expect to have a group decide upon by the end of the year. Again, we'll work closely with your group as we continue that. One thing about that is that I sent that out to about 15 organizations, 15 web development firms in, a couple of local, some in Indianapolis, throughout the state, a couple of meetings. As any good sales and marketing organization does, several of them picked up on it right away and said, oh, you guys need help with the development of your branding and naming and things like that. And I said, that's a process that hasn't been started yet. Not quite sure where that is, but I did just want to, and I know I've talked with John, I've talked with Jay a couple times in the last couple of weeks about this, and I know you're talking about it and that type of stuff, but we are looking forward to supporting you on that process and anything we can do, however we can do that. Not really sure what our role is there. Just again, when we did our branding for Visit Bloomington that we currently use, that we started developing in 2015, it took about a year and a half. I've got 300 pages of research. We did 13 research projects for it. So this is the brand book. This is a Bible, the brand book that we developed out of it. So I see something like that coming out of this effort, and again, happy to be a leader in that and support however we decide. We'll figure that all out together. But so once we know all of that, and we can use the branding and stuff as we develop the website and things like that, and later in 25 once that's done. All the advertising and things that we'll be doing. But we'll be doing a ton of digital, mainly some broadcast, all types of media relations. When you're ready, when you have something to talk about, we will have opportunities for this group to talk to journalists and press. They're going to want to know about this and what's happening both statewide, national media. That'll happen. I mean, just know with the records, you see all the time. So again, when the time is right, we'll talk about it. But really, when it comes to our work and working with groups that bring in here, personal sales calls, relationship building with the associations in Indianapolis is the number one thing to do. We are ready to hire a second salesperson when the time is right. Probably start that process late 25, maybe 26 again. You'll know about that well in advance. We'll be budgeted for that and ready to. I'm happy to answer any questions. Maybe Sean can talk for a second first and then we'll get into these questions together. But just wanted to let you know how excited we are. Really just chomping at the bit to get after this and sort of selling. So thank you all for everything.
My 3-year anniversary a couple weeks ago, just started, it's been 3 years already, but to really kind of expand on what Mike said, give you a really big overview of kind of what my plans are next year, and really what I've done the past 3 years. Trade shows is a big one, so I'll go to about 8 or 9 different trade shows next year, all throughout the US, in various markets. So internal markets, which is big for us because there's a university. There's association markets, which is the other one, because as I've said probably a few times to you all, there's an association for pretty much everything out there. And there's a lot of conferences and conventions that will be a really great fit for this expansion project. As Mike mentioned, Indianapolis is big. I'm there at least once a month, if not more, for 2 reasons, 2 main reasons. One, I'm on the board of the Media Professionals International Indiana chapter. I've served on that board for about 2 years and will continue that next year. So as the name applies, it's meeting professionals. There's 200 members, 120 then bar planners that plan meetings throughout the state of Indiana. So we can certainly tap into that resource. The other big one is the Indiana Society of Association Executives that heard me mention before. sort of ISAE for short. But they are the Association for Associations in Indiana, and I have the pleasure of serving on their board for the next 2 years. That's a nominated position that I'm really excited for. And the other 12 board members are all association executives that make these decisions of, hey, where should we have our convention in this year? And so I'm really in tune with, really what their challenges are for planning meetings and how we at Visit Bloomington can help some of those challenges. One being bigger space, but two, people just love to visit Bloomington, and there's a lot of IU grads out there in the meeting and hospitality industry looking. Like mentioned, digital marketing, to give you a quick example, we've done a lot with Media Professionals International through basically about 4-hour radius from Bloomington, so you think Chicago to the north, all the way down to Nashville and Columbus, Ohio. And we're performing about 5 times better than the industry average. So what that tells me, I love Bloomington, not really surprised to maybe a lot of folks here, but the interest is out there for folks. And we've been, like Mike said, kind of just teasing and getting people just excited, just like we are. And once we're ready to kind of go full blown, we are ready. And again, just really excited to partner with you all and fill that convention center space. And of course, if there's any questions today or else, please let me know. I'm happy to help. Thank you.
Yes, just for clarification, so, and I'm looking at my, this RFP is, an RFP they're putting out, it's not a CIB RFP, so we're not putting this RFP out. Your organization is putting out the RFP. Second point of clarification I would make, just so when we talk about, terms, we don't mix them up. Your RFP dealing with branding, and you've mentioned naming. Naming is a process that we will go through as a board, and by agreement in the interlocal agreement between the city and the county, this board will select a name for the new convention center, subject to the review of the mayor and the president of the county commissioners. So the branding opportunity and the branding work will be happening with Mike's group. We'll be working on the naming opportunity. Obviously, the sooner we're able to help you and give you that information, the better it is for the branding opportunity. And we will talk more about the process for naming at our December meeting. So any questions for Mike? Yes. Mr.
I
Stonewall.
just have a comment. I want to say thank you to Visit Bloomington and their team. We've got just outstanding professionals in that role over there. You guys have developed some very strategic relationships. You've heard from Sean, and Mike and I go way back from my time in county government as well too. So we are truly very well equipped to hit the ground running to make this as successful as possible. And I'm just glad you're sitting where you are here in this community doing the work that you're doing. So thank you very much.
Yes. Mr. Chair.
We talked about a 4-hour radius. Do you have a pro forma or even existing data on users of the convention center that are inside Indiana versus outside Indiana?
Percentage of who's here on one side and Indiana and who's not.
Say at least 75%.
In state, and we assume that will continue at some level.
Other people.
The reason I ask is that I've done some analysis work on this, and it's Visit Bloomington, but it's Monroe Convention Center, and that lack of sort of alignment in naming is unusual in the industry. That's clear. If you're in Indiana, it's probably somewhat likely that you would know that this is Monroe County. If you're outside Indiana, you're probably not at all clear that's the case.
We are very fortunate at Visit Bloomington to be able to call ourselves Visit Bloomington. It helps us connect and sell, and it is a key component of the success. People don't travel to counties, and of course, we're located next to the exception. We've been we're lucky to be able to do that. I can't tell you enough about the most common sense,
marketable name for this building in the city of Bloomington Convention Center. People will get it and understand that. There's a reason it's the Austin Convention Center, the National Convention Center. Those are in the names. So it's gonna be the first thing that comes up in the SEO searches and things like that. So, we will definitely stand by that. And when those talks start, we'll advocate for that. But we get it. There's a lot, really lot of
One more, if I may, there, you start to see some mid-sized communities work with corporate partners on naming rights. Evansville, for example, is the old National Center. Do you have a read for how that's viewed in the industry?
I think that, people get it, they appreciate that those destinations or those facilities need those dollars to be able to operate. So I did that. Yeah, it's a information center, actually, I can't remember the name of it. Those dollars are critical, if you can get them, so I did it.
Thanks.
And Mike has shared with me in a past iteration of an advisory group for the convention center, there was a community exercise on naming. And Mike has shared with me the results of that. I'd frankly forgotten we did that, but that was back in 2019. That was right before, yeah. Yeah, that was that was when the first group was meeting and we went through that exercise.
So before time.
And then right after that, we rolled through the holidays. And then January's very busy and we're gonna get back to what we're. Yeah, so there was some previous legwork done that will again become part of what, we can incorporate in our conversation in December as we move forward with how we want to proceed with the naming process. And we're not the only Bloomington in the world either. So there are other states that have.
Although I did look it up and neither of the other Bloomingtons, Illinois or Minnesota, are called Bloomington Convention Center. So we got that. I don't know how that happened, but, they dropped the ball.
We must have had a trademark or something. Okay, so thank you, Mike. Thank you. All right, next item of business is old business. Is there any old business to be brought before the board? Mr. Springdale.
I don't know if this is old business or not, but I'll give it a shot. And I don't think that this necessarily at all needs to be figured out today, but something that I think we need to keep on our radar is, probably getting a status update on the formation of the city's building corporation. Getting an understanding of what the debt retirement plan looks like for the existing convention center, because we know that's gonna have to be transferred to the city building corporation. And then, all of the other relevant properties that are gonna be associated with the expansion, getting those transferred to them. I think, in terms of getting the bond issued, I know we've got a kind of a timeline of wanting to do that early next year. And those would all probably be prerequisites to getting the bond activities completed. So just something that I want us to kind of keep on the radar.
Yeah, thanks, and I think that's exactly right, and I think it's, I need to connect again with the city and see where they stand on that. I know the plan is, and Jeff may have some additional input as well on where the city stands on bonds and things like that. Do you know anything more?
Yeah, the plan currently, and I'll be updating with the latest cash flow, is that, go to the city council in, hopefully late January, early February, with the idea to close the bonds. We need approximately a 30-day window to close the bonds, which we're utilizing as March. So the funds will be available April the 4th to coincide with construction schedule this month. And because my sight line is better than yours, I see Jessica McClellan is nodding affirmatively with city controller, so. And I know there have been some initial conversations between the parties about the agreement between the city and the CID as to how they're going to handle the transfer and those types of things.
And that'll need to be done, before the bonds are issued, so
Yeah.
that'll be happening relatively soon, I would think.
Any other old business? New business, any new business to be brought before the board? Comments from board members? Seeing none, comments from the public, and On the agenda of today's meeting, we have some guidelines for public comments, so you certainly are welcome to comment. We've provided a space that makes it a little easier for people to know where we want you to go when you comment. We're providing 2 minutes for comments, and please direct them to the president of the board, that's me, and not the individual board members. So with that, are there any members of the public who would like to speak? And let me add about relevant matters before the board. And I would ask public commenters to identify themselves for the record, so we have that for the record.
Hello, my name is Joe Davis, and I represent the taxpayer objection petitioners. I'd like to applaud the design of this structure. I think it would be excellently placed at the north part of the property where the Wilmington Board of Commissioners is just purchased or agreed to purchase a number of acres out there. And it seems like this will be easy access for out of towners to come in to get to. That property is probably, because of its size, it could open up other opportunities, maybe even save a lot of costs on the building. And I think that this would fit really well out there. I don't know if there's a 1% for the arts in the county, but that might be something to still continue to consider when the project would move out there to the north part property. I think that as well, some money could be saved with not going for the lead points, and commissioning could be expenses could be saved just to have a less rigid sort of assessment like the mechanicals once they're installed. So the lead really doesn't have as much value as we think it does in this moment.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Your time's up.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else? Any other comments from the public? Well,
I just wanted to share a few concerns or thoughts about the project. I'm excited to see the progress that's been made and the additional drawings and walkthrough that we had today. And I did meet with our representative Douglas yesterday, so just trying to cover all bases here. So one concern, and maybe you talked about this in another meeting, but it's the pedestrian interest. Now, along the wall that is shielding the loading dock, I don't know what that wall is going to look like. It's going to, I want to make sure that pedestrians walking by are not just walking by a blank wall, which is something of interest to them. And then for the basketball wall, I think that's something that should be discussed. For the existing lanes and such. So I don't know if those conversations are going to take place, but that's important as well. I was pleased to hear that considering some kind of launch treatment at the corners at Walnut and College the third. I think that of course would take coordination with the city because that's the right way there. But I think that's also very important that that you don't just have this vast expanse of two blind sidewalks meeting and have something of interest on this. And I think that's all I have. Thank you so much.
and again, I have a visual advantage when I'm looking, when I'm seeing our architects nodding affirmatively at the suggestions you made for us to review. And I do know that in the BEAD meeting today, that the artwork along that wall that you mentioned, we'll discuss in that meeting. So thank you. Any other comments from the public? All right, seeing none, our next meeting is December 11th at 3 p.m. And, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Okay,